For 60 years, Detroit engineers told the world that a truck's engine had to stay physically connected to its wheels to deliver real towing power. They called it mechanical authority. They built entire product lines around that principle. The BYD Shark just proved every word of it wrong. This pickup runs a 1.5-liter engine that never under any load, any condition, any road touches its drivetrain. The engine does not pull. The engine does not push. It generates electricity at exactly 46.06% thermal efficiency, while 2 electric motors handle every pound of torque delivered to the ground. Ford's EcoBoost 3.5-liter, the engine inside America's best-selling truck, peaks at 38%. That 8.06 percentage point gap is not a footnote on a spec sheet. At $4 per gallon across 20,000 annual miles, it is $1,600 in operating cost that F150 fleet operators will no longer absorb. Starting now. This is not just an engineering story. This is a supply chain story, a job story, a Detroit story. To understand what BYD just did, you have to understand why Detroit made the choice it made, and why that choice seemed correct for decades. The parallel hybrid architecture, where the combustion engine stays mechanically linked to the drivetrain, was not an accident of laziness. It was a rational engineering response to a real problem. When General Motors launched the first Chevy Volt in 2011, they tested a full series hybrid configuration engine as pure generator electric motors driving the wheels exclusively. Under light city loads, it worked. Under towing loads, sustained highway climbs, and cold start conditions in Minnesota winters, the generator could not keep pace with demand. The battery depleted, power dropped. The system had a ceiling, and that ceiling was too low for American truck use cases. Detroit engineers documented that ceiling. They published it. They built around it. By the time Ford launched the PowerBoost hybrid in 2020, with 430 horsepower, 570 pound-feet of torque, and 24 miles per gallon on the highway, the parallel architecture was not just a product decision. It was an industry consensus. The Society of Automotive Engineers validated it. The automotive press celebrated it. Nobody asked whether the ceiling itself could be moved because the physics of 2011 had been mistaken for the physics of forever. That was the blind spot, not arrogance, not negligence. A reasonable conclusion drawn from data that was already 10 years out of date. But while Ford was accepting its engineering award for the PowerBoost, a production line in Shenzhen was already running, and it was built on an entirely different set of assumptions. Every combustion engine has a narrow band, a specific RPM range where it converts fuel into work most efficiently. Outside that band, efficiency collapses. The problem with a parallel hybrid like the F150 PowerBoost is structural. Because the engine stays mechanically connected to the drivetrain, it must follow wheel demand. Accelerate hard, the engine revs up. Climb a grade with 8,000 pounds in tow, and the engine labors through RPM ranges, where its thermal efficiency drops from a peak of 38% down to 30%, sometimes lower. Every second spent outside the efficiency band is fuel converted to heat, not motion. BYD's solution inside the Shark is architecturally different at its foundation. The 1.5-liter Atkinson cycle engine is mechanically isolated from the wheels entirely. It has one job: spin a generator at the single operating point where it achieves 46.06% thermal efficiency. 2 electric motors, 1 per axle, handle all torque delivery to the road. When you demand full acceleration, the motors respond instantly. The engine does not change its behavior. It stays locked at its efficiency peak, indifferent to what the wheels are doing. Pull 8,000 pounds up Vail Pass in Colorado, a 7% grade at 11,000 feet elevation, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. The F150 PowerBoost's engine is working against the load across its full RPM range. The BYD Shark's engine is doing exactly what it was doing on flat ground in Denver. The physics of the load never reaches it. The American truck buyer has always faced a binary choice. A gas or hybrid truck gives you real-world range. The F150 PowerBoost delivers approximately 750 miles on a 26-gallon tank with no electric-only option. A full electric truck like the F150 Lightning gives you 320 miles of standard range. That collapses to under 100 miles when towing at capacity. You picked your compromise and lived with it. The BYD Shark does not offer a compromise. It offers 120 kilometers of pure electric range, sufficient for 94% of daily American commutes, according to U.S. Department of Transportation data, and 2,100 kilometers of total combined range before requiring any refueling. Drive from Dallas to Jacksonville, Florida, 1,090 miles of Interstate 10, in pure hybrid mode without stopping for fuel. No charging infrastructure required in rural Louisiana. No range anxiety pulling a horse trailer through West Texas, where the next charging station is 180 miles away. The F-15 PowerBoost covers 750 miles before its tank runs dry. The BYD Shark covers 1,305 miles. That 555-mile differential expressed in commercial fleet terms across 50 vehicles running 25,000 miles annually translates to 94 fewer fuel stops per vehicle per year. At 15 minutes per stop, that is 23.5 hours of recovered productive time per truck per year. Time that fleet operators currently price into their operational models as an unavoidable cost. Thermal efficiency is not a marketing metric. It is a statement about waste. When Ford's EcoBoost 3.5-liter operates at 38% peak thermal efficiency, it means 62 cents of every dollar of fuel energy leaves the engine as heat, through the exhaust pipe, through the radiator, into the atmosphere. The mechanical work that moves the truck is the remaining 38 cents. BYD's 1.5-liter Atkinson engine running at its fixed operating point converts 46.06 cents of that same dollar into electrical energy fed to the drive motors. The waste stream drops to 53.94 cents. That differential compounds at scale. At $4 per gallon and 20,000 miles annually, an F-15 PowerBoost fleet vehicle consumes approximately 833 gallons. A BYD Shark, operating in hybrid mode across the same distance, consumes approximately 667 gallons in its combustion phase. That is 166 gallons, $664 per vehicle per year, recovered from pure thermodynamic improvement alone, before factoring in the electric-only miles that eliminate fuel consumption entirely on short trips. For a construction fleet manager in Houston, running 50 trucks at 25,000 miles per year, the annual fuel cost differential between the F-15 PowerBoost and the BYD Shark's architecture is approximately $83,000. That number does not require a tariff to matter. It appears on the profit and loss statement regardless of what happens in Washington. BYD does not buy its batteries, it manufactures them. The Blade lithium iron phosphate cells inside the Shark are produced in BYD's own facilities at an estimated cost of $62 per kilowatt hour. Ford's cost for comparable battery cells sourced through external supply agreements with SK On and CATL runs approximately $92 per kilowatt hour. On a 15 kilowatt hour pack, that is a $450 structural cost disadvantage before a single other component is priced. BYD also manufactures its own electric motors, its own silicon carbide inverters, and its own drive control software. Ford sources each of these from a network of over 600 Tier 1 suppliers across 3 continents. This is not inefficiency on Ford's part. It is the accumulated structure of 120 years of American industrial specialization, a system that built the strongest automotive supply chain in the world. The problem is that system was optimized for combustion engines. Every hybrid and electric component Ford adds requires a new supplier relationship, a new contract, a new margin layer. BYD's vertical integration was not inherited. It was deliberately built for this architecture from the ground up over the past 15 years. When the semiconductor shortage of 2021 forced Ford to halt production on 1.1 million vehicles, BYD increased output. That was not luck. That was the structural difference between a company that controls its critical components and one that does not. Let's be precise about what is actually being threatened here. Because this is not a story about inferior American engineering. It is a story about architecture becoming obsolete. The Ford F-15 PowerBoost is a legitimate engineering achievement. Its 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 produces 430 horsepower and 570 pound-feet of torque, while returning 24 miles per gallon on the highway. Figures that would have been considered physically impossible for a full-size work truck 15 years ago. Ford's engineers earned every award the PowerBoost received. The problem is not what they built. The problem is the ceiling they built it against. At 38% peak thermal efficiency inside a parallel hybrid architecture, the PowerBoost has reached the boundary of what that structural approach can deliver. There is no version of that engine in that configuration that reaches 46.06%. The physics do not allow it. Chevrolet's position is more exposed. The Silverado lineup enters 2026 without a full parallel hybrid option in its core half-ton segment. GM discontinued its previous hybrid truck program and redirected investment toward the Silverado electric vehicle. That full electric variant carries a 450-mile range claim that drops below 100 miles under maximum towing load. Silverado customers who need both daily efficiency and weekend towing capability have no answer from Detroit in 2026. They are being asked to wait. RAM's e-torque system, a 48-volt mild hybrid, represents a 5 to 7% improvement in fuel economy over its base V8. Against a 46.06% thermal efficiency series hybrid architecture, a mild hybrid is not a competitive response. It is an acknowledgement that Stellantis chose a different problem to solve. 3 trucks, 3 companies. Combined, they represent approximately 85% of the American full-size pickup market. Roughly 2.3 million units sold annually. None of them has a production-ready answer to a series hybrid architecture running at 46.06% thermal efficiency. That gap is not a press release problem. It is a product cycle problem, and product cycles in the automotive industry run 5 to 7 years. The 100% tariff on Chinese vehicles does not solve the problem Detroit faces. It delays it, and the delay is not free. Every year that American automakers spend behind a tariff wall without restructuring their powertrain architecture is a year BYD compounds its manufacturing cost advantage. The Blade lithium iron phosphate battery cells inside the Shark are produced at an estimated $62 per kilowatt hour. They require no cobalt. They require no nickel. They are built on lithium iron phosphate chemistry, and China controls approximately 75% of global lithium iron phosphate refining capacity. If Ford decides tomorrow to build a series hybrid truck that competes with the Shark on thermal efficiency, it will need lithium iron phosphate cells at scale. And that supply chain runs through the same country the tariff was designed to keep out. The jobs exposure is structural, not cyclical. Ford's 600-plus Tier 1 suppliers, the companies making transmissions in Indiana, torque converters in Ohio, hydraulic components in Michigan exist because the parallel hybrid architecture requires them. A series hybrid does not need a multi-speed transmission. It does not need a torque converter. It does not need a traditional drive shaft connecting a combustion engine to driven axles. The components that employ hundreds of thousands of American workers in the industrial Midwest are precisely the components that become unnecessary when the architecture changes. Tariffs protect borders. They do not protect engineering decisions made in 2010 from becoming obsolete in 2026. What happens next depends not on tariffs, but on whether American engineering culture can move faster than it has in the last 40 years. The parallel hybrid era in American trucks does not end because of a policy decision. It does not end because of an environmental mandate or a consumer preference shift. It ends because a 1.5-liter engine in Shenzhen achieved 46.06% thermal efficiency on a mass production line. And the physics that made that possible do not reverse when the political wind changes. Detroit's engineers are not standing still. Ford is spending $50 billion on its electric vehicle and electrification transition. GM has restructured its entire powertrain roadmap. The talent inside those companies built the most capable combustion trucks in history. None of that is in dispute. What is in dispute is time. The BYD Shark is not a concept vehicle. It is not a prototype shown at an auto show to gauge reaction. It is in production. It is on roads. The clock that started when that assembly line turned on does not pause while Detroit holds its planning meetings. The question is not whether this technology works. The question is whether Detroit will still be the one building it when America finally decides it needs to. The answer to that question is being written right now. Not in Washington, not on Wall Street, but on a factory floor in Shenzhen that the Western press spent a decade calling irrelevant.